That's even worse.
Grab my shit, put it back over me, and tucked into it like a burrito roll myself.
Yeah, that's me for sure. Like you ain't go get
Like,
this
bitch, you wanna take it this time, right?
You got to pull hard. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? What up, what up, what up? Welcome to another episode of More to Discuss. I'm your host, NunFlyyer, here with my beautiful daughter,
ToJo.
Hey man, how are you? How are things in fair Georgia?
I am amazing. I took my nap early today, so very well rested. I made a new chicken concoction that I'm obsessed with. Today's going amazing.
Chicken concoction, huh? What does that consist of?
Well, I want to call it like my chicken meringue because it's but it's like citrusy, a little bit of lime in there, a little bit of barbecue, some lemon pepper. It's a lot of different things, but it tastes so good.
Sound like a concoction. Sounds something that's concocted up.
I mean, it's so good. I don't even know if I can repeat it.
I mean, you might should have wrote the ingredients down.
That's the thing. I was doing.
You didn't tape it or nothing, huh? You didn't film it or nothing. You was just in there doing.
No, I just pulled stuff out the refrigerator. I was like, ooh, I'm gonna see if this can make it. Really, I was trying to make my own version of orange chicken, but it didn't come out nothing like how they do it. So I was like, all right, let's just add a little bit of this and see what that do. And then it made a whole different thing. So I'm like, yeah, I like this a lot better anyways.
You ate
one of those kind of things.
You ate burnt orange chicken?
It wasn't burnt. It was like, okay, so when I cooked it, I couldn't really taste the orange because I marinated the chicken in it and then like I poured the marinade like over the chicken before I cooked it. So when I ate it after it was cooked, I'm like, I don't really taste the orange. Like, what's going on with the orange? There's no orange. So then I had mixed some barbecue sauce and some lime juice together and tossed it in that. And it took a whole different vibe. Like, it took a whole different vibe. And I was like, oh, there go that orange right there. It came out once I put a little bit of that lime up there.
Yeah, it sounds kind of zesty, though. Sounds like it's one of them.
I love some good zest, though.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite thing.
To be zesty?
Yeah, I eat lemons for fun.
Oh, yeah, no, that's a lot.
Like, I eat them like they're oranges. Like, I eat them slice by slice. So good.
That's a lot for the zest, man. Like, I like lemonade and shit and lemon cookies. But just knock like lemon down, that's a lot. That's a lot of zest.
All the acidity, all that. I need all that.
Oh, I mean, probably a line with the old tequila, but not really a sour fan.
I love sour. It's my favorite.
Hey, so look, right? We gonna call this another Toes Takeoff, primarily because this topic is a topic that you are hella passionate about.
Yes, I am.
The Toes Takeoff is real. What brought you to this topic? What were you thinking about when you got on the campaign to protect the babies?
I was actually on the phone with my mom. And she was telling me about a story that she read, article that she was reading about this girl that had been through some really crazy stuff in her life. And I'm like, okay. And it kind of like triggered me a little bit, but I'm more healed than not. So I was able to continue the conversation and actually get the end result of everything. And by the end of the conversation, I was like, oh yeah, we got to talk about this on Wednesday because this is the message, this is a word, and I need everybody to hear this. Because basically, so it's about a female who was sexually assaulted by over 28 people, and 16 of them were family members. So her story is she was a troubled girl, and her family just bounced her from home to home to home to home until she started. They put her in foster care, and then she went to those people, and then that didn't work out. So then they circled back around, and she went from home to home to home to home again until she was about 20.
So
No,
wait,
she
so
was
wait,
like,
so wait. Back up right there. From home to home, do you mean with family or in the foster care system, or you got to break that down. Trying to
okay,
think.
so she was bounced from home to home. So as a young kid, this started about when she was like, honestly, on the article, well, it was like an interview for her. Honestly, she told the people that she had been having, we're gonna say wee wees because we don't want to get flagged for
Mm-hmm,
too
mm-hmm.
very vulgar words. She said she could since the I can't even talk. She said since she could remember, she had been being violated like that with wee wees since she was 2 years old.
Mm.
Like people put them in her mouth, just doing little weird stuff to her. So she said when she was old enough, like 5, people actually started messing around her body parts and trying to, what I'm saying, vaginally do stuff to her. And then the first successful time was when she was like 9 with her stepdad. And she ends up getting pregnant by him. The mom's jealous, of course, but why wouldn't you get rid of the child? Anyways, the mom's jealous, kicks her out. Now she stays with her grandma. Her uncles stay with her grandma. They start doing stuff to her, raping her and all this crazy stuff like that. And then, she's telling her grandma it was one of those things like what happens in this house. You don't tell nobody what's going on in this house.
Right.
So she told her grandma. Her grandma was like, basic, not like suck it up, but you don't need to be letting nobody know what's going on up in here. I'll handle it. But it was never handled. So then she runs away from there, gets picked up like on the side of the street. They take her. She's mad young though. You know what I'm saying? So they take her. She said people she got a baby. She gets put in foster care and all this stuff like that. Her grandma ends up giving her baby to like an auntie. Auntie finds out she's a foster care, takes her. But now her cousins, her auntie's sons,
Right.
are now doing this to her at the auntie's house. By this time, she's like 11, 12. Gets pregnant again by one of her cousins. And it was just like this crazy thing where she just kept getting bounced around. And it seemed like all the males in her family were sexually attracted to her. And she just kept getting raped until finally she was in high school. She meets this, I ain't gonna say it's right because but she meets this older person that's willing, to take her and her baby in to get them away from all the stuff that she's going through. So she goes with him and she's married to him. Everything's good and he dies.
Mm.
And I just feel like it touched me and I wanted to talk about it because there's so many situations like that, not in specifics, but where people are being touched by their family members and people are supposed to be close to you, people are supposed to protect you, people are supposed to love you, and instead of you being able to express that, it's more of a don't tell nobody what's going on. I'll handle it behind closed doors, but it doesn't ever really get handled. So I'm like, I need to bring this to the chat because I need to know what other opinions is out there because I feel like our kids need to be protected. It's very scary, and you don't know
So
who to trust. And I feel like that enough people don't talk about it. It's not something that gets brought up in many conversations because a lot of people are ashamed or embarrassed or don't want to shine light on something that hurts them. You know what I mean? Or don't want to relive that pain. But it's like the only way out is through it, in my personal opinion. So
so
what do y'all
you
think?
so so in the case of the girl, she was being abused by people outside of the house and inside of the house, right?
Yes.
Right.
So she met her good old husband at 18. Amen for him.
So I think that's crazy because especially when you come to family for help with some shit like that, and then back in the day, especially with older folks, and the way we feel about authority, calling the police, I think a lot of people be caught off guard, and the shock and the embarrassment, or even if they knew, just the fact of having to face some shit like that, um, causes people a lot of pause, right?
Yeah.
At the end, also, outside of the actual, especially if you're telling the grandmother it's something that her son is doing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's different. Like if you're telling the father something that his cousin is doing or something that his, uncle is doing.
Right.
But the mother ain't going, a lot of mothers will protect their sons as opposed to defending the child. You see what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So, and I think that's a big issue too. Plus, a lot of the times, the grandmothers and mothers in those situations have been through similar shit, and that's the only way they know how to take care of that shit or to deal
To
with
be
that.
quiet.
Right, because they had to go through the same shit. Like I said, often those patterns are repeated,
Yeah.
right? Especially when they're brought to the attention of the parents, and the parents don't do nothing because that's how their situation was handled, right?
Yeah.
So, like, say for instance, you can tell me shit because if I don't kill him, man, I'm gonna die trying type of shit when it comes to my kids, right? And I wouldn't give a fuck, you know, about anything else, right? Or who it is for that matter, right?
Right.
But those are my kids. I would gather that if they had fathers around, or even if she had a father around, it would probably be different, right?
Yes.
But when you're raised by women, especially black women, because it happens to us too. The older women, like I said, they've been taught to, because back in the day, man, it was all about the hurry up and shut up. You know what I'm saying? Like you had a lot of bad women that were like tough women, but they were tough in raising us, not necessarily dealing with their husbands or dealing
Right.
with their spouses, or you know what I'm saying? Tough as shit to the world behind closed doors is somebody that was different, right?
Yeah.
Or even in dealing with those types of situations, you know, I believe a lot of this shit gets swept under the rug because that's how they know how to deal with that situation, right? Um, Not to say that it all happens that way,
Right.
because it's been some women out there that have poisoned some niggas for fucking with their kids, right?
Right. And handled the situation.
Right,
And
figure that
handled
they
the
can beat them physically,
situation.
but I get your motherfucking ass one way or another, right?
Like, don't worry about it. Consider it handled. Okay. But
Right.
Yeah.
unfortunately, it wasn't like that in her case. And it seemed like from everywhere she was going, it was just coming from every direction. And when I heard about it, it just struck something to me. It's like, even though it's an old story, it's still something that needs to be brought up because she ain't the only one.
Right.
She got
See,
kids for her family members. That's crazy to have.
yeah, and see, and that goes towards is the difference between being trained to fight in the streets, but be conditioned to accept the trauma inside the family. You know what I'm saying? So it's a difference between those two.
Yeah.
When you condition, when it like Frank said, that multiple generations would, if that particular person is still alive, that it was passed down to them, and they thought it was just easy access
Right.
to the thing. So the whole family, the awkward Thanksgivings and the birthday parties, you know what I'm saying? And everybody's like, oh, where the small talk goes to, oh, you can't be over there with that one. Oh, keep an eye on that one. Come on, kid.
Yeah.
Not everybody's conditioning everybody to deal with the predator.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Then the predator pass it down to whatever they feelings in. And so, like Frank said, it has to be dealt with strict consequences on a disciplinary level.
Yes.
Like it's no longer like it stops here.
Yes.
Period.
Right. Period. That's the point. Period. Because I ain't finna let you do that shit to nobody else's kids. I'm not finna let you do that shit to my other kids if I got other kids. I'm not finna let you do that shit to my sister kids. You know what I'm saying? If I know you that type of motherfucker, oh yeah, man. At the very least, you gonna end up with some
Yeah.
broke up shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you could actually see the tendencies in the next generation. You know what I'm
Yes.
saying? With the pushing, with
It's
you know what I'm
passed
saying, the
down.
awkward whatever, or oh, that's okay, excuse me. Oh, he just like the daddy or the mama. Because on the same right, it's females that does the same thing just
They
as
do it
men.
too. Yes.
Right, but that's why I say the patterns are learned. Like that shit happens through generations, right?
Condition, taught.
Because if at the first time it had happened and the legend about that was the dude got his shit stabbed up and was burnt in his bed, fuck with my
Yeah.
kid, I guarantee you that legend would have carried on through and wouldn't nobody
And
be
a lot of motherfuckers would have thought twice
You see what I'm
before
saying?
doing that. Yes.
But because of the way it was handled at first, it creates this like fucking snowball effect of, well, shit, they ain't gonna do nothing about
Yeah.
it. You
But
know
I
what I'm
like the
saying?
point that you just brought up because even the next thing closest to whoever the perpetrator was, it like they had no holds barred, so everybody becomes a victim of that person's warped thoughts
Yes.
about touching and stuff. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So
I mean,
you
'cause
already know
all
if
the
it's at the
people who
same address or in a similar family, it's like locked in there, and they excuse it. You know what I'm
But
saying?
how
It's
do you?
even
Okay. How is that excused?
because that's the point. Because it was called embarrassing, right?
Yeah.
That you actually embarrassed the thing to even utter the words of somebody got violated
Right.
or tampered with, right? So the thing is, like, you sweep it under the rug because, like you said, just a couple of generations ago, it's like the hush hush, don't ruin the name. You know what I'm saying? Or second cousins or this. But some, I would say the point that it came to, it's not really no fixing that once it actually happens, because it's even the idea of it.
Yeah,
The
because
picture of that
now
person.
you in like a mental battle.
Yeah.
type of
And
thing,
so
yeah.
you actually take from mindset to the mentality is okay. And it might branch out, but whoever was the participants in that, right? It has to be like X'd all the way out. Like violation, out of town, floating on the log. Period.
Yeah.
somewhere, right? So
You know what I'm
listen,
saying?
I believe a lot of that shit has to also be exposed. Like being the creepy uncle that everybody whisper about is no longer acceptable. This nigga needs to be exposed. This nigga needs to be.
You can't
You
come
better
to
not
no
show up.
events. Why? I'm
You
telling
better not
exactly
show up.
why.
Better
No.
not show up, nigga. To nothing, right? Like all the keeping the shit quiet and trying to protect the name of the family and trying to stave off embarrassment because of outside motherfuckers. All that shit got to stop.
That's how you used to say cleaning up the house, right? Clean up the house. Like, who went back if he's still, not unalive, right? It's like, where did it start from? Did it come from school? Did it come from there? Because a lot of people use society woes like it had to come from somewhere, whether there's alcohol abuse in it, drug abuse, or the big S abuse. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
it's like, where did they say? Remember they said the Idiot 2, did they get it from TV? Did they get it from a movie,
Yeah.
right?
Nah,
But
man.
the thing is, and this is the one key point, right? Whoever was around that was closest to the person that in speaking distance, and they seen this, why they didn't neutralize the situation right there. I don't call it a problem, right? It's the situation right there with these tendencies,
Right.
right?
Shock. A lot of the time.
I'm so tuned in. I could feel energies. I'ma know, like, even from a young kid, like I knew, oh, he ain't right. No.
So, and that's another thing, especially if you know your kids, right? Like, I believe it's true that once a child has been assaulted, their whole energy changes.
Yes.
Right?
110%.
Like, they change into completely different kids, and that's an indicator of somebody messing with them, right? So I really be on my kids in terms of their energy, making sure that they levels are up like they normally are. Like, even though they be little badass kids, well, not really a lot of times. They be doing this shit. I know it's the general shit that they do. You know what I'm saying?
And
I know
that
they
goes
not
back
acting
to-
because of no bullshit.
That goes back to her being troubled. She wasn't troubled. She was being assaulted by everybody around her. She didn't know who to trust. She acting out because she don't want to be in these rooms with these people. She acting out because she don't want to even be in contact with you, but she has to constantly be around them. This is something that she has to stay around. Of course, I'm gonna act out so you can send me somewhere else so I don't have to be here. Yeah.
Right.
But
they're not
the
paying
thing is,
attention to that. They're just saying she's bad.
Well, because no one paid attention to her like that. The person who was closest to her when she was a kid was her mom, and she wasn't really paying attention to her.
Right.
And the thing is, right, and that's the one thing. That's a good point, because it was the part is because if it's a woman, the first thing that they throw the abuser, the violator, some bell. Oh, what would he do? Oh, maybe they didn't like him. Or you talk smart to him. So the discipline from that is the fear of getting you know what I'm saying? Whatever, spanked or whatever, or you're a liar. You call wolf. You know what I'm saying? Like, you selling wolf tickets. Like, what did he do to you? Knowing that it was a conversation, and whoever the violator had the tendency to speak that way, to ensue some things, what we used to call campaigning for that part. let me see how far they could go. Or they gang goofy. You know what I'm saying? Or they easy being victimized. And that's the part that when people do speak out, they get bashed over the head from, if the family is conditioned to ignore it, grandmother, the hierarchy, because it's the woman that actually holds the key to it, right? To have the voice. When I say, oh, you crying, or you just acting out, or your daddy ain't there. It's all kind of other things that would make victimize the victim.
Right.
And that's the cold part, because what you do, you turn inwards, you walk, you start abusing yourself, you start cutting yourself, you start doing the things, not making yourself attractive for the predator, you know, all the way down to not washing your booty.
I'm talking about funk is all get out. Because I know he don't come over here to this stinking thing, but sometimes I still do not stop it. And
no, it don't stop it,
like,
because they perverted.
I personally have been in a situation like that with one of my mom's boyfriends, but I got so raw with what I was doing. I'm gonna go crazy. You're not about to even think you want to even play with me. I'm whipping out knives. I'm doing whatever. I'm gonna kill you and me because we're not doing this. And that's the approach that I took.
What do you guys think about the scenario where the mother is a young mother, right? Had a kid, 14, 15, 16, had a daughter. And now the mother looks at the young daughter who is filling out, got titties sticking out, butt sticking out, or whatever. She's looking at the daughter as competition. And whatever weirdo ass nigga she got up around her is looking at the daughter as prey. And then comes this push and pull where kind of like in the what was the movie where in the Precious movie where mama is like, you know, bitch, he ain't doing nothing to you. You just trying to get my man type of bullshit.
Whoa. Conditioning.
So that
you know what I'm saying?
That type of scenario to me, okay, so I know somebody who was in that type of scenario that's fucked up because I want to say her uncle had to come save her. You know what I'm saying? Like, uncle had to end up putting tips on the moms because she was with that bullshit. You know what I'm saying? But that's a parenting thing. Like, I don't know how. That's weird. But it ain't weird because it happens more often than not.
Right. That's what I was gonna say. It's weird as fuck, you know.
Especially competition.
In you know, in its essence, but it's more common than.
I know, and I was about to say, I know someone with a mom like that, and it's to the point where like my friend was just wearing hoodies and Kenny and herself, you know, from South Park, like just walk around like Kenny, like you can't see nothing, so how you gonna say anything type energy, because she didn't feel comfortable around her own home because it was her stepdad looking at her every time we go out or I'm over having a good time, you know, and I like to, you know what I'm saying, be free and have a good time, so we going out looking nice. And he, the mom, that's what I'm talking about. So it's like, I feel like, just like God said about the first thing, it's something that's passed down. It's learned behavior. Like either her mom or somebody close to her treated her like that. Which, in my ideas, I feel like, what does a child have that like no? Right. What can a child do that this grown woman has been doing? The child ain't got nothing to do with that. So why are you even comparing the two? Like they don't even vibe at the same like frequency. Like how is that even comparable?
But I would say that it's the mirroring effect, right? I look in the mirror, I see myself in this person. Okay. So, but she never talked to me about it, but she has the tendencies because I'm consuming that she's a part of me. She passed through me. So at that age, and it's the part where, like I said, the condition is like, that is where I was mentally in that set. But we know times has changed. She might not even been looking at like that.
I'm about to say, kids often ain't even like that.
Yeah, but the thing is, right, it's how you say the influence of the mom. It's like, go change that because Billy might be looking at you. Like, okay, well, you already know Billy got
need to get up out of here.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey, that's to get the fuck on.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And, don't come out the room like that. It's like, you invited him
in my house. Why this nigga even here?
You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, right, that is the part of, you know, I would say in modern times, a woman don't want to be alone, so she will accept that, knowing that okay, well, the baby boy effect, but in a reverse.
Okay.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's
Well,
like, oh, girl, you got to get out.
I can
You
say
know?
this too, right? I can say this too, and we probably don't want to, acknowledge the existence of this, but sometimes, not most times, but sometimes, you have a young girl coming into her own who, the mother is more like a sister than a mother, and she starts to emulate the mother's behavior, attitudes,
Mhm.
Past
mentality, and
behavior.
everything from a very, very young age,
Okay.
maybe 8, 10, get to
Mm-hmm.
be 12, and you got your little buds popping out or whatever.
Doing all,
You
yeah.
start looking at the boyfriend like, I could take her from my mama.
I could take it from my mom.
Whoa.
That's
You know what I'm
sickening.
saying? And now we want to say, okay, yeah, a little fast pants, hot pants, little chick, whoop whoop. But again, this is a child, and so you have to make allowances for a child's mentality, right? The child is emulating. What do we always tell the kids? Do what I say, not what I do. How often
Right.
does
Yeah.
this work? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Almost never, right? So a
Mhm.
kid seeing a younger mother being promiscuous, bunch of niggas in and out. Some of these niggas is the man, dope dealer nigga, bringing McDonald's up in the joint, whatever, whoop whoop. And, the girl is looking like shit. I can have that too. Matter of fact, I don't need to have my own. I can have this one.
That one. Ooh,
So
that
would
got my skin
would you
crawling.
so would you add poverty into that? Struggles?
Well,
You know what I'm saying? Like if they see the struggle behind it, like that's the way out. Like this guy, well, yeah, that's see, and I can't throw the bell to no guy because at that precise moment, he could have checked the situation to the
I'm
mama.
about to say, I feel like it's on the man too. Like,
It ain't
Oh
never,
yeah,
yeah, it ain't
it's
never no
always
damn
that's
it's
a-
Yeah,
always
that's what
on
I'm
the
saying.
grown
he
ass
is
nigga.
just
yeah, it ain't
It's
never no
always
bell
on the
for
smart
no
grown
as
nigga.
ass
hell,
nigga.
or be
Period.
like, get your
Right.
daughter. She on some weird shit.
Never
There you
exactly. Never no
Like,
bell
what
for
you
no nigga
mean?
like that. But
Don't
even
let
in
that
that
shit
fact
ride.
though,
What you mean?
even in
Yeah.
that
And I
exact
feel
fact
like
though,
some
You trying to
guys
break up with me?
are weird like that, and they let it ride, and it's like, oh, she be bending over in front of me, yeah, da, da, da. I be seeing all the stuff she be
Ooh.
doing.
Wow.
No,
no,
like,
that's a
no,
young that's a young
like,
perv. And for a parent, for a single parent, especially a single mother, right? You can't be afraid to protect your fucking kids.
but they
Fuck
be
that
scared
nigga,
because
man.
they don't want to be alone. I've been
Right.
Fuck
doing this
that
by
Can't
nigga, man.
myself
lose
for
this
so
nigga.
long. He might sneak into her
Start
room
blaming the
every
girl
Tuesday, but it's
for
only
the
on Tuesday,
your
so it's okay.
unhappiness, all that kind of bullshit.
Right.
Yeah.
But that shows your daughter, as a daughter, watching you. See, that's what I was saying about the shit being learned, right? Like I was saying about the silence in not reporting being assaulted because your grandparent or your grandmother or even your grandfather, because men get assaulted too, didn't
Yes.
say nothing when it happened to them. You know what I'm saying? Or they did say something and it was ignored, so they learned to ignore. You see what I'm saying? It's the
I
same
got
with that
another good one.
situation. That's the same with that situation when you see your mother doing shit that she ain't supposed to be doing in front of fucking kids. What do you think your kids is going to do?
Well, and that's the part. That's like if your mom about it, she goes out to have a steak dinner. She'll come home flossing in your face like, oh, you know what I'm saying? You dropped the bag on me or whatever, and eating the steak right in front of the kid's face and not bringing nothing home for them. You know what I'm saying? But
So
this
they
guy is
probably thinking,
facilitating.
if I do what mommy do, I could get a steak dinner.
There you go.
Sickening.
You know what I'm saying? But when the guy come over, you know what I'm saying? Whoever he is, not your daddy, whatever, it's like, you got a nephew, you got a cousin, now you actually let that in your house. You know what I'm saying? Or his homeboys come over. You know what I'm saying? And that's that weirdo stuff that, well, I got the whole family. I knocked down the mama and the daughter.
That's sickening.
You know what I'm saying? But that is the
like that's a next level. Like, you gotta be a crazy motherfucker to feel like that's cool. How do y'all okay, I have another scenario. How y'all feel about when it's a young man, of course, in the situation, and it's an older woman, but he feels cool because he's knocking down some older coochie?
I think that's you just said it, right? I think that is a enormous double standard. Shit. it's hard for me to put it in these terms, but I would say that I was probably victimized, as a young dude, about 10 years old, 9, 10 years old, getting my little wee wee pulled on,
Right.
games with the older, chicks, in the neighborhood or whatever. And 16 years old, I was sleeping with the school bus driver chick who was 24. You know what I'm saying? And we thought that was some fly shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? That I was the man.
Abuse is abuse, though.
I was the man. As a matter of fact, my first baby mother is 3 years older than me, and I moved out of my mother's house and into her house when I was 16. And my mother was the first one to say, first one to just put it in them blunt terms. She was like, nigga, when September come around here, you better be in school, or I'm sending the police around here to get you and this child molesting ass bitch.
Hello.
Hey, I've heard that from my grandmother. My grandmother had to say that on some bullshit. But look, right? Is it abuse if you don't feel abused? Like, is the fact of the age is what makes it abuse?
It is because
Or
hold
on though. Most of the time when it's done to females, especially younger females, it's definitely not wanted, right? Being a young man, though,
y'all want it?
Man,
no,
it's not.
No.
It's not denied. I know I did it.
No.
I was hella curious and interested. The more the merrier. Like, it was like I didn't feel like, it felt low key rite of passage. It was nothing that I ever ran from. It was nothing that I even thought weird.
But the thing is, right, that when it does happen, allegedly, that's what you always look to. So they didn't abuse you so bad that you didn't even look at the people in your age group. So you wasn't even thinking about no girl.
A girl, you 12, 13, or 12, 13, okay, do shite for you, baby.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Kid.
Yeah,
So
but
listen,
the thing is, right? Go ahead, Fred. I'm sorry.
At that time, it was a whole whirlwind of shit happening, right? Because it was a short, maybe 5-year window of all my little spectacular bullshit went down. So I really didn't have enough time to fucking take it all in like that. Like, they were all just moments, right? But again, they weren't moments that I was like, oh no, I felt some type of way about, like, that wasn't supposed to happen, or did she just do that to me, or you know what I'm saying? But it wasn't when I was a kid either. I was also like 15, 16 years old.
She still robbed you from your childhood. That's the whole thing.
I had already had a child by then, so my childhood.
I'm saying,
my childhood was pretty much gone. You know what I mean?
But I'm saying in other parts where, because I got to go back to the old Negro spiritual, right? Because we are savages until we learn better, right? Until the new lesson comes to us, we are put in that mindset like, okay, first of all, this is my way out with poverty, out of my mama house. I'm not listening. I'm hard-headed, and that is the part where, hello, mother. That's going all the way back to how it was prescribed, right? Because once a young lady get her moon cycle, you got to get married off, because now you're a breeder now, right? So then the whole part is the man is at 12, 13 years old. You didn't, got grown person responsibilities.
That's scary.
You understand what I'm saying? So it's like you provide for the house.
Right quick, bro. I see the look on her face. Back in generations before you, that's how they got out. Once you started leaving, man, they was moving, checking and jiving you. You was out there.
That's scary because, like, baby, I just started experiencing this new body. Now I gotta give it to somebody. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But the thing is,
I don't even know what to do with me yet. What?
But the thing is, right? You should already know, because that's when they say the chemicals in the brain. Either you'll be slow, developing mind slow, like you kind of, can't get right, or you did the fast track. Either that's the kid that was in the back room Nobody could talk to her because it's not fitting into the criteria of growth, right? It's a block. Then you had the ones that was outside. It's like, oh, I want to say arranged family hookups. You know what I'm saying? Like that'd be a good for you. So instead of us getting in Africa, they got the cows and stuff. It's like, no, you're gonna work, get your own place right next door. This is your responsibility. The key with the on a shoestring around your neck. Don't let nobody in. Don't answer the door, whatever. Now you right next door because we actually have to start cooking at 10, 11 years old. Better know how to make that rice and and it all came from the women that was like, this is your duty. The matriarchs was actually saying that soon be. I know you're gonna be around there hunching, grab and go get it. So you know what the consequence it is. Dun, 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 dun. Child.
Well, I'll tell you another scenario, and
Wow.
I witnessed it at two separate times in my life. You know, once when I was growing up in Inglewood, and then once again 20 years later in Atlanta. And the phenomenon was again with younger guys, juvenile niggas, and grown ass women, right? But what I think was the underlying kind of foundational shit is that in both of these scenarios, the community was more about, you know, the hustle than getting up and going to fucking work, right?
Oh, okay.
So you have chicks who, you know, may have went through, you know, 5, 7, 8 years of bumpy relationships with street-related cats they age and older than them, you know, who established some shit, went to jail, whatever, but showed them like some, you know, do's and don'ts about the street life. And then here comes this younger dude, 14, 15, 16 years old, and he's on that same track. And what the phenomenon is these women kind of, you know, nesting these younger dudes.
Get them while they're young. Get them while they're
I'm
young.
gonna get this. Like, you know, chicks used to say when I was a young dude, you know, we was, you know, running around with perms and silk shirts and fucking driving bucket Cadillacs and shit.
Real fly.
And all of the older chicks that was, you know, 22, 23, 24 used to be on us with the little bullshit. Oh, look at my little pimp. This is gonna be my little pimp right here. And would do shit like, here, Mackie, go get me something from the Hamburger Hamlet. Get me 2 hamburgers, 2 milkshakes, and give me $100 type of shit, right? Keep the change. So your way of kind of putting a little bread in my pocket, kind of getting me on your mind. Now I'm thinking about, you know, whoop-de-whoop, you know, the big home girl who kind of liked me. She pinching my cheeks and talking about what she gonna do to me if I was only 18. And, you know, now I'm talking about, you know, age ain't nothing but a number. I'm getting money, whoop-whoop, you know. I need an older chick to lace me up. And the next thing you know, I'm up in the spot with the bars up around that motherfucker. Answering that door 50 times an hour, right?
And that's conditioning.
And then I watched the same thing when I got to Atlanta. You know, there was a whole big rush of 22, 23-year-old chicks with 15, 16-year-old niggas in the house and daddy. You got 2 kids by a nigga in the pen, you know, 2 toddlers, and, you know, here's this 15-year-old, you know, got a little hair on his nuts, you know, and a pistol in his back pocket. You know what I'm saying? He trying to move some weed or some yay or whatever. And next thing you know, he done got it made easy for him because now he don't have to be slanging out his mama back window, you know what I'm saying? Or, you know, out the back of the apartment buildings. Boom, you right posted up. You got in-house coochie. You ain't never got to be doing that kissing and grinding and, you know, playing and going home with blue balls and none of that. Nigga, the coochie is on deck at night, every night, right there, coming out the shower. Naked coochie just walking right by you. And you 15, right?
Like a little jackrabbit.
Questionable shit. You know what I'm saying? That's when the nigga's really smelling his own fucking nuts. When he telling himself he grown, you're not really making grown man decisions, but you're really trying to be that. And then you got a lot of pressure on you from this older woman because she's expecting you to grow into this man that she hasn't been able to go out there and get, who's already built up. You know, she's trying to build her a man. You know, kind of like that concept. I'm gonna have a baby that's gonna always love me. Well, I'm gonna build this. I'm gonna build this player ass nigga. He always gonna love me.
Yeah, and so
it'll never work out that way. You know,
exactly.
Bitches go to jail and some more shit, right? Literally, go to the penitentiary for fucking a nigga 15.
Of course.
But I believe that's the difference between So when we out there trapping, man, and the motherfuckers hustling, like we already supposed to be, or we already on our grown man shit, like. Niggas out here doing grown man shit. They got whole cars, paying whole bills, nigga, feeding whole families and all the shit. You know what I'm saying? Got niggas working up under me, literally. Like, you can't tell a nigga in that atmosphere that he ain't that. So that's like low-key par for the course, right? Like, she not teach you how to be a grown man. You already figured the moment you have to leave your mama house, you figured that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You figured that. So that's different. I mean, it's a difference as opposed to the kid who at school and fuck with a teacher.
Well,
that's crazy.
It's a trip.
We'll be going through the teachers' heads.
Look, it's a trip that we would want to identify as a different scenario,
but it's not.
And we give ourselves very good reasons for it being a different scenario. But remember, fuck what that kid is thinking. He's a kid. The same way that little girl who thought she was hot and grown, and, you know, gonna steal her mama's boyfriend from her because she thought that she had a fucked up mentality. And we have to admit that, you know, a nigga being out here committing crimes that's gonna fucking get you, you know, 20, 30 years in the fucking penitentiary at 15 years old because you think you're supposed to be paying bills, there's something wrong with that mentality.
Right. Not to say that it was right.
So it's not nothing healthy. It's not like it's different. Yeah, okay, well, shit, we out here moving like this anyway. So we supposed to have a chick that's older, whoop, whoop. Okay, yeah, that's justified to us. But what about to her? She's still fucking a young ass nigga.
Yeah.
Right. So it's not to say that it was right. I'm saying to say in terms of mentality, right? Or even the way that people look at it, right? Like even the way we take it. But the outside motherfuckers that surround us look at it, right? Like we can be in the same situation. Like we can be 16, 17 years old, right? And we fucking with older neighborhood broad who do this in jail, whatever, what have you, right? And then it could be the same motherfucker going through a similar situation and he fucking on the math teacher or the fucking science teacher, right? I don't know, because I've never been in a situation, but I don't believe the situation will be looked at the same outside. You see what I'm saying? Even inside, because we are kids, although all our kids involved, the blowback from it for the adults will be different in the situation, right? Like, ain't nobody gonna hunt down, 26-year-old broad that you fucking with if you're a 16, 15-year-old dude. But they will go after that teacher, though.
No, but look, I like how you said that. It bring it to bring context to it, right? More context. It's a difference between ethnicities. Because if a white guy did it, to a black guy, like on a poverty level, right? That is the part. Like, what was your social construct? You know what I'm saying? Because it would have arranged marriages. Well, you want to say in other countries, right? But just look at China. They knock out all the women and keep the men. And that is the part. It's like, what are they actually good for? Or you go to Thailand, now you got the thing called lady boys. All the women are gone. You know what I'm saying? Because the men went to
you think you go to a strip joint, you go see some slangalangs in there.
You know what I'm saying?
You go see some slangalangs. You go see no cootie cat. You go see some slangalangs.
But people from Britain actually go there. Look. But you get the same thing, emotional
because I want to talk about that.
Look, so the thing is, right? So you'll get people from Britain and other, like, you know what I'm saying, countries will actually go there, and it is actually
like, okay,
there you go. I don't even know the fancy word for it. It's like it's
normalized.
It's put it in context, yeah. Right. You know what I'm saying? And the thing is, but you cannot bring that over here. You know what I'm saying?
I'm about to say, because
But-
I heard something about what they do in this thing in Canada where they passing this law in Canada where as long as it's consented by the parent,
It's
they can
sick.
give their child to somebody, and no matter the like up to I think like the age started like 5 or something like that, as long as it's consented by the parent, they can give them to someone to be like a sexual partner. Like they can do that.
Conditioning. Exactly what I'm saying.
Grooming it?
Conditioning.
Grooming?
Right? Grooming. Yeah. So but
Mhm.
that is the thing, right? Where it's going back to the slave mentality.
So
Right.
let me ask you
It-
this. Let me ask you guys this right quick. I'm sorry, Nas. Let me ask you this
Yeah.
right quick. At what, since maturity happens naturally to us at such an early age, in terms of being able to reproduce or whatever.
Right.
What age do you think it? Okay, so what age do you think it necessary or fine or okay for you to date people older than you? Like, at what age is it cool?
25.
I feel like if you
25.
like
Grown.
18, 19,
Yeah.
and you dating somebody that's like 20, that's not bad. Because you
So-
18, you technically grown. But now you dating somebody, you 18, you dating somebody that's 34, it's like
No.
Technically grown, though.
I'm
It's
gonna have
just
to vehemently disagree.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to vehemently disagree. I think that it's really about the maturity of.
That's what
First
I'm
of all,
getting
let's just deal with the legality, right? Let's just get that out the way. 18 and better, period.
Yeah.
Right.
okay.
Now,
Well, yeah,
18,
that's
18 to 21, right, is a cold little fucking age gap because that's where you got to be looking at the maturity of the 21 up. You made your own decisions. If you made a bad decision and I fucked you and didn't give you $40 on the way out, your bad, homegirl.
Oh.
18 to 21, you kind of got to exercise some discretion because I was 34 and had a kid with a 19-year-old, right? She was a 19-year-old who was giving my ass the blues.
Yeah.
See, that's
But-
what I'm saying, though. Like, aside from the legalities of it, right? Aside from staying the fuck out of jail, which is most sick motherfuckers don't give a fuck about that shit.
Oh.
So it's like, outside of the legalities of it, if you have a mature 17-year-old that's working, doing her shit, and she got a kid, right? Even if the kid was by another 17-year-old dude, and she fucking with a 30-year-old nigga, that would be considered off.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
You going to jail.
That is off to me because it's like, yeah, she on her
go to
shit,
jail.
yeah, she do her thing, but she still, I don't know, bro. It's just like, well, you again, like.
Now, I was speaking to the maturity of
I
it.
don't know, bro.
No, but the thing is, right, we got to put,
You
now we
still
got to talk about present.
you could deal with the maturity, but you still got to deal with the legality. And 8 and 17, it
Well,
gets
see,
you
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Get you got real fast.
That's what I'm
You know
saying.
what I'm
Outside of
saying?
the legalities of it, right?
But the thing is,
that's
right?
what I'm
No,
saying, though.
so
Because
so,
you got a
so
lot of
check
people.
this out. So check
Go
this out, right? It happens every day, right? We just choose to ignore it. Because what if you're 18 in high school still, right? And that girl, you go to prom somewhere else to another school, and the parents don't like you, and they find out you a football player, you know what I'm saying? 18, 19 years old, and she's a freshman. You know what I'm saying?
That shit is well established.
18 and freshman.
No, I'm talking about
That was my
16.
next question.
The 16 as a freshman, 17 as a
Okay,
freshman,
I
but
think-
he's 18 as the
I
senior.
think that what the law is before majority, which is before 21, get a year and a half leeway.
Yes.
So you could be a senior in high school and go out with a sophomore. You turn 18, she's 16 and a half.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can still hit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But other than that,
Okay. So what about the guy that's like 16, 17, trying to prey on little 13 and 12-year-olds? Like, I feel like,
You got to order.
They're
Not
both
order.
kids.
but is they though? Because you're
because I'm still working with that year and a half.
16.
I'm still working with that year and a half
13,
because I'm gonna tell you what happens. Let me
still-
tell you what happened, Tootie.
No,
I'm
bro.
gonna tell you what happens, right? Say if you're not working with that year and a half, right? Say you're working with 5 years, right? 4 years. We'll say 4 years.
4
right?
years, okay.
So this nigga's 17 and he going out with a hot 13-year-old, right? I'm saying, when I say hot, I'm saying hot tail. Right?
I know they be hot in the ass. I know they do.
So 17, and he's in a senior in high school. She's just coming into high school, 9th grade.
9th grade, just popped out.
That happened.
And then they fall in love, right? They fall in love. He graduates, goes off to college. We don't hear shit from him, right? But he comes back the next year, knee injury, whatever the fuck, right? Now she's in the 11th grade, right? She's 16. And this nigga is 20. Coming to pick her up in the Capri. You know what I'm saying? Driving all up to the fucking parking lot. Grown ass nigga with a mustache and a beard. No, nigga, get off the motherfucking campus, homie.
Let me tell you something. I'm that mama that's running niggas away with the gas. Don't play about me or mine. We're not doing that. Because, like I said, me being a girl that was literally preyed on just young as hell, and people thinking because I'm developed. No, we're not doing that. Just because God just put a little extra sprinkles in me, don't be coming over here.
No.
So it's like,
he trying to show up to prom.
I'm not playing. I ain't playing them games, baby. We're not doing none of that.
Well, I know.
I don't want to be that person like, oh, you can't date until you 18, or you can have a boyfriend, because that's unrealistic as hell. I know people start catching feelings around like 12, 11.
They got the computer though.
Dabble and say they're in relationships, or I like him, or I da. So I know that. But I'm gonna normalize the friend thing. Like, ain't no relationships. Y'all friends, real good friends. That's how I'm gonna normalize that.
Shit is a trip how things change. What's acceptable changes over the years, right? It's kind of like what Frank was saying, right? Because in my generation, right, when I was in high school, right, a lot of the chicks who were my age, who were, about something, they was getting picked up by grown ass niggas in front of the school.
Crazy.
Every fucking day.
That was like that for me too.
Yeah.
I had a friend like that at high school. I used to think like, bro, you're so cool, because like, who does that? I'm like, that would never be me. I don't even like old niggas. Like, could never do that. But that's you, mama. You do that. You enjoy that. We was always partying off the back. She was getting some, not mad. But it's like, you don't want to walk home with me today? I mean, okay, no, I don't want him to drop me off. My mama do not know him. I'm not about to get my ass beat for you. I'm good.
And then, shit, my grandmother and them's generation back in Louisiana, if you got to be 16, 17 and your ass was still in the house and you was a woman, girl, what the fuck is wrong with you? Better go get you a husband. Get the fuck up out of here.
That's crazy.
Nah,
but it might be though.
You might be babied up and married off by 17 and have 2 babies.
That's scary.
Real shit, and it's normal, and everybody expecting that shit. And if you ain't doing nothing like in school on your studies and no shit like that, they was expecting you to make out.
I'm glad.
But you look, but you got to add this in, right? Because there was in them generation, you already was, your idea was not about hanging out. It was going strictly into being a wife and a mother.
Or a mother,
you know what I'm saying? So it was like
the house.
You didn't have that whole phase. Wasn't no whole phase.
I did it. I'm about to say I had that mindset, but I did it that whole phase, which was like throughout the early years. And then once I hit like 23, I'm like, okay, I need to really figure out what I'm doing in my life. And that's when I go.
Hey, Tootie, and you hit on something too, like you were saying. Imagine how it was for those who wasn't really feeling men. Like you didn't even like.
And that's what I was about to say. I didn't even like boys at that age.
A fucked up situation. Like, you got to be forced. In
7th grade,
really ain't with.
I graduated high school. I was on the girls heavy, so it's like I can't even imagine my mama. I'm 16, 17. She like, now look, I know you got your little problem, but you need to go see Joe over there because he need a wife.
What? Joe? Can you imagine that shit? And that's
I'm gonna go see Samantha in like 10 minutes.
But then I'm happy that you brought that up, because that's when, not they said they had to hide, right? But they had to be like, it was common. How can you say? You had to show faith. You know what I'm saying? You had to show that in the man, because it's like, at one particular time, I was like, if a woman was 25 and didn't have no kid, I'm like, your juice box is not good. You know what I'm saying? It must be trash because you don't have a baby. You know what I'm saying?
That's crazy.
And that's the part, right? And then, that was my part, because getting to a family, you know what I'm saying, was my whole everything. You know what I'm saying? So it wasn't no things like, oh, well, she's a 22 with a kid. Oh, she's all used up. It's like, no, thank you. Can we have some more?
Right.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Because that was the whole thing. So you can be, in this amount of time, 30 years old with no kids. I'm like, oh yeah, it got to be a problem. You know what I'm saying? So ain't no amount of college, you need to go to your whole phase because, you know what I'm saying? No.
That is
aren't you happy you were born in the era you were born in, Tootie? Are you happy you were born
I be
in the
thinking that
generation?
because I be thinking like that, and then because somebody else said, I'm like, oh,
Hey, you
it's
got a
really
lot more.
thing. Like, wow, okay.
You have a lot more options as a woman now. How about
And
that?
I appreciate that 110,000% because.
Yeah,
Right.
because the thing is, it was frowned
Right
upon.
now,
It was
I
frowned
really, I ain't gonna lie, I'm holding back tears. Like, that's crazy.
That's crazy,
Like,
right?
it's fast, like, stop.
Hey, and I mean, niggas like fathers would give they daughters away to their homeboys because their homeboys had a cool plot of land that you can farm on, and he wanted a little bit of that.
Run me 3 goats and a cow.
Right.
There you
like,
go.
can you imagine though? You know what I mean? Like that would be crazy.
Because I'm fighting you and him. We're not going down easy. I swear to God.
But here's what's fucked
Dude,
up
you'll be
about that, though.
18, you'll be marrying a nigga like 63.
Right.
Yeah.
nigga.
And that nigga
Right.
gonna be
At
dead
the church,
3 days
the church
later.
deacon,
Fucking with
the
me.
church deacon.
So look,
You know what
right
I'm
here's
saying?
what's
3 days later, fucking with me. We not
here's
playing.
what's fucked up
And
about
have you on
that.
some Sealy shit.
It's a bunch of niggas. It's a bunch of niggas, or just people in general, who don't want to give up them old ways, and that's how you get a lot of these motherfuckers still fucking with kids and still fucking pushing them issues because they don't
Yeah.
see nothing wrong with that shit, right?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing that in time the understanding of how we develop as youngsters, as people, help guide the fucking guidelines that we got in dealing with that type of shit in society, right? But it's those who were raised in those times who raise their sons with that same mentality, because in their household they don't give a fuck. You know what I'm saying? To the fact that they daughters can't have no friends over. You know what I'm saying? Like that type of shit, because they don't give a fuck, right?
Oh, tell your
because
friend
the
I
turnaround.
need me in the study. I want to talk to your friend in the study. Tell her to come.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes,
What?
exactly. So look, just right in I would say I forgot the name of this book in 1975, right? The family household before that, less than 50 years from 1975, right? That it was promoted to have more than 5 kids. If your family didn't have no more than 5 kids, and the woman was pregnant for at least the first 10 years, from 16 to 26, whatever how much time it takes to have a baby, you wasn't a producer of a family.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? But then right there in the 30s, you want to say, or no, in the 20s, right? You still had the part where you were still a indentured servant. So if the kid was walking the street, they could be picked up in jail for not being married or walking the streets.
Wow.
Jim Crow kind of thing. It's like everybody's outside, gathering the gathering spot. And that was the part where even women that like women, or the men thing, right? That you actually had to save face and do it, but be miserable as hell.
That's crazy.
You know what I'm saying? But it was like an understanding. But the man to go for some milk and go around the corner and have a whole different family. And that was just in 1976.
That is crazy.
So I can tell you this much, right? Being a father, being a girl dad, I can't wrap my head around the mentality of dudes back in the day who thought it was cool, because I wasn't raised by them type of niggas. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got uncles that got all daughters. You know what I'm saying? So niggas were raised by them type of niggas, right? So it's like, I don't understand the mentality of those who, but I mean, I can understand the times, but in these times, like, protect them at all costs, because it's now about the brilliance in the woman, not necessarily the fact that she is the bringer of life, right? Like, we can always get to making kids, but you got to get to making something for yourself before we even get to that. Like the brilliance of a woman is something that is, I don't want to sound fucked up and say it's a commodity, but it is something that's necessarily needed. You know what I'm saying? And when you dull women in having them have kids too early and not being able to explore the greatness that's out there for them, right? It's okay. I believe that freedom helped move society along way faster than it would have if women were still in the whole barefoot and pregnant stage.
But it never was true though, Frank. That was that feminist act that came in the early 70s. You know what I'm saying? It's cosmopolitan, going out being, you know, a woman that was actually, you know, progressive in that kind of way. I'm not going to do what the other generation do, you know what I'm saying, or have done. So then the next day you become the weird auntie that probably touched the kids, or talk about I'm going to adopt your kids because auntie just know how to show up with a check. You know what I'm saying? We got some of those in the other people's family, but it was on, I want to say, the Caucasian side of that, right? Because the family cookout, and I'm talking about all the brown or the people with melanin, right? It was structured during that day. Like even in the Mexican culture, quinceañera, you already a grown woman, right? They do a wedding ceremony just like you was getting married, quinceañera. Welcome you to your womanhood.
Flowery dresses and
yeah, I'm talking about much as a wedding. You know what I'm saying? So that was the whole point of, okay, this is where we at. And I think it was a couple of months ago, it was like, now it's natural birth control. Go to college, don't get a trade. You know what I'm saying?
You don't
the
need
men
a nigga.
snipping their stuff. You know what I'm saying? If they promiscuous, like you say, going to their little hoish stage, right? Nobody want to face the consequences of that. Now we got a gap now. If we actually do the statistics, it's a gap of people not even believing in family structure. You know what I'm saying? Or sometimes it's, you know, what's that other thing called polygamy or whatever? You know what I'm saying? So you want to have multiple people, but you're not making no commitment. You know what I'm saying? Because even a dude can't even take care of himself or the two houses, but he want to get mad and beat the woman.
You want to have both of them. What?
Yeah, and make it mad because like you supposed to give me something. It's like I never seen no laziest dudes in my life at this time in my life ever.
That
you know
also is another conversation for another podcast. However, when it comes to this one, in closing, I can say this. I hope that or I would say people pay attention to your kids, man, because you can tell by the energy of your babies if somebody's fucked with them or not. And if they are, you gotta set that example.
Get rid of it.
Yes, sir.
Episode.
Hey man, I appreciate y'all for dropping in on us. That was some good shit. You know what I'm talking about?
I hope I made sense.
It did, and I appreciate your mind because you blew me a few times. I'm just like a few times. I appreciate that because
we be trying to tell that nigga to put that shit on shorts. He don't fuck with us though.
Allegedly, my everything's alleged. I don't even know what I'm talking about.
I know that's right.
Hey, for everybody who watched, man, like, share, subscribe, do all of the social media things. We'll be back next Wednesday with another fire episode, man. And peace.
Peace. That's even worse.
Grab my shit, put it back over me, and tucked into it like a burrito roll myself.
Yeah, that's me for sure. Like you ain't go get it this time.
Bitch, you gonna take it this time, right?
You got to pull hard.